Okay, so I made a TikTok video and it's talking about my daughter and how she almost killed us. And it's my older daughter. And I'm making this because as a parent, if maybe we look at things that our kids do differently, it might change our perspective and how we handle it, right? That's what I'm thinking. So this is what I learned from my hard child. She was difficult. She was a good kid, but she, like, now looking back, what I thought was like bad behavior, I think really for me now, it's that it wasn't bad behavior, it was emotional behavior. It was out of control, but that was something she had to learn to do, was to control it. But I think really it was definitely a reflection of who she would one day be and all that was involved in who she is today. So today she's 18 years old. She is a amazing woman. She's 18, so like womanly kind of thing. Because to me she's still my little girl. But she is so incredibly strong. She's so incredibly motivated. I can't say enough amazing things about her. She's so kind. But here's my experience with her when she was a kid. And up until the age of probably like 10, her toddler years and like her elementary years were the worst. And then of course, like as she grew, it got better. So I tell this story in my TikTok where she almost killed us. And she did, actually. Like, we are so lucky to be alive. But it was me and her two older brothers, and we had gone shopping. And everything was going well, which was kind of how it worked with her. And then all of a sudden, something set her off, and she was pissed. So she starts screaming in the store, I need to leave now because she's screaming and it's embarrassing. Everybody's looking at us, and I was really done. But her tantrums were not the kind you could just deal with in a store. You had to get her out of the environment. So we leave, and it's me and her older brothers. We're in the car. She was also the kid that when you put in a car seat, if she was pissed, she was going to try and get out of it. So her older brothers we would get her in the car seat, and they would both sit on either side of her and just hold her in, because she could still figure out a way to get out of that car seat, which, like car seats, not like a car, child safety stuff. Anyway, so the wind's blowing today and it's itching me. Anyway, so we get her in there, and I'm going through a light, and it's just me. She is yelling and screaming so incredibly loud. I can't hear anything else. And as I'm going through, and it's like I'm having to make a left turn, it was a really big intersection. And as I'm going through, I see like lights, like flashing in the corner of my eye. And I kind of see like motion, and I look over, and people are doing this. Like they are waving me down. And then they're pointing, and then I like look this way and I look that way. And remember, I'm still moving forward. So now I'm like this. And there are two cop cars flying. And I am like, this is no exaggeration, but I turned like this and tried to get all the way over, and these two police officers were on top of me, inches from my car, both like around me. So like me here, one's here, one is right behind me. It was unbelievable. I sat there for a minute and then realized I was in the middle of the road, and then I needed to drive because the cops came to a full stop. We all three came to a full stop together, and then they zipped around me and took off. Terrifying, like so terrifying. And we still pick on her about this. She doesn't find it funny at all. But let me tell you, now here's what I can tell you about what I learned. She, like I said before, she wasn't a bad kid, but she was so incredibly intense and competitive. And she, as a little person, as a little toddler and even into elementary, she didn't know what to do with it. And we would try exercises like drawing books, like when you get mad, let's draw, or when you get mad, let's color, like, hey, let's do something physical. We tried to do those things, and they did help. And they did help her kind of learn to deal with this emotion that she had, because she had so much emotion, and she learned to just kind of control it. And now, she couldn't always control it because she was a child, but she got better and better as she got older. And I can tell you, that girl, for playing sports, she's a really good athlete. Nobody comes close to her intensity. They just don't. When she gets mad, she doesn't go through this anymore. You know, she knows how to control it. But it really was like all the negative that I saw as her being a toddler and elementary kid, all that I saw as a negative was actually just a portion and just maybe like an insight of what she was going to be and how strong of a young lady and a woman, this can like make me cry, that she is today. Like, she's unbelievable. She is so incredibly motivated. I'm so impressed with her. So if you have a hard kid, you have to correct your children. I mean, like, we could go into a whole nother topic of like kids not being corrected and what our society is going through now. But let's just not think about that and just look at the fact that those hard children, they are hard because there's a lot going on in there, and it's so much more than their little bodies can take. And if I would have known that as a young mom and a parent of her, I would have done things a little bit differently. I still had to have addressed it because she had to learn. But I guess I wouldn't have been so hard on myself. I wouldn't have taken it so personally that she was this way, because I looked at her as this like troubled child, and I wouldn't have done that. I would have realized that like this was just a glimpse of the strong woman that she would be one day. Now, with that learning experience, she has a younger sister, and the younger sister is actually in that video on my TikTok. And that little girl is so much like her older sister. She doesn't have like the tantrums and stuff, but she will get pissed. She is the most competitive little person I've ever, like, even more so than my oldest daughter. She's extremely competitive. If you sit there and say like, you know, so-and-so's good, she's always like, well, I'm better, right? And I know people could take that as a negative, but it's not a negative. It's just the way she sees herself. She has a very positive, high self-esteem already at 6 years old. So that's what I got out of it, was now looking back, I approached her younger sister much differently, because now I can say like I can deal with the things I need to deal with and be stern, but I don't absorb it, and I don't look down on myself as a mother that like I can't control this and I'm not doing better, that like I'm not teaching her better. It had nothing to do with me. It was just more than her little body could take. So if you're a young mom, or if you know a young mom, just take a minute to kind of look and say, maybe, just maybe, it's a glimpse of how strong that child would be. And you still have to address it, and you gotta teach them. And I ended up teaching my oldest daughter. I mean, she got so good at controlling her anger and her outbursts that there was a lady one day, we were like at this RV park, and this lady kept being so ugly to her, to the point like following her around. It was very creepy. But she was frustrated. She was 14 years old, and she was so frustrated. And she's like, Mom, can you deal with it? And there wasn't anything. It was just going to be a screaming match between me and this lady. And I said, and this was the first time, and this was an amazing moment for us, but I said to my daughter, you know all that stuff I've been teaching you to control? And she said, yes. I said, next time that lady messes with you, let her have it. And she did. She came and she said everything she needed to say to that lady. And guess what? That full-grown adult packed up her crap and she left, and she never messed with that 14-year-old girl again. She was strong. It was always there. She just didn't know how to use it and when. So as a parent, you can teach them to control what is in there and take all that strength that they have that's coming out as maybe negative behavior, hold on to it, learn how to deal with it, And when it's the right time, release it. Anyway, hope it helps someone. Love y'all.